Hi, I'm Jay Porter from Wolff Audio, and we are here in Nashville with my friend Matt Yonker at his studio and sitting in front of his new Wolff Audio Console. Matt, how are you?
I'm great, and thanks for coming out. Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah. Who are you?
Well,
I know who you are, but
for the people out in internet land, I'm Matt Yonker. I play drums in the band Less Than Jake, and we are at my home studio, Drastic Sounds, here in Nashville, Tennessee.
So the new console, you got it a few months ago, I guess?
Yes. I'm madly in love with it.
Excellent.
For real. Yeah, console arrived right in between legs of tour, so I quickly assembled it, got it in here, set it up, and then had to go right back on tour, and then just got to finally dive into it the last couple weeks, and it has been a joy.
Excellent. Yeah, I remember. I think you had just got it when I saw you in LA.
I mean,
and you were like, "Yes, it was here. It was great," and I haven't had a chance to use it yet.
Yeah, Jay came to see us at Warped Tour, and yes, he was like, "How do you like it?" I'm like, "Well, it looks awesome, but I haven't really got to dive into it yet."
Right on. Now, I know you were console shopping for a while. You literally looked at everything out there.
Yeah.
Why did you land on the Wolff?
Well, I mean, Paul Wolff has a crazy reputation in the audio world, as we all know. I mean, you know the quality is going to be there. I reached out to get some info, and he was still designing the mic pre's, so he didn't have everything finalized, and he was like, "Well, I'll hit you back in a couple weeks with some more info." And then you stepped in. This was kind of when you came into the company. There was a custom house event here in Nashville, and I went to check it out in person. And when I saw it in person, it was like, yes, this is for me. It's awesome.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. You know, I know you're using it in a certain way. The tone cards, you know, we've got your vintage American stuff, you've got your vintage British stuff, you've got your clean, you know, modern kind of sound. How are you using those different mix buses in your setup?
It's a little bit surprising. What I figured I would use going into a certain style was like, okay, I'm going to use this tone bus for drums and probably this one for guitars just to get this vibe. Some of it's been like that, but some of it's been a little bit different, where it's a little bit of a surprise, like, oh wow, I like this tone bus better on drums than this one. It's been cool. It's almost an adventure every time, because you're like, oh, I thought I was going to use this and use something totally different. It's cool.
Right. No, that's cool. A lot of fun to blend them together too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you have 16 of the Wolff Freak EQs. Then you've got a nice selection of your own stuff in the other 500 series racks there. Kind of best of both worlds, huh?
Yep. Yeah. You know, when you do it for a couple decades, you look around, you just start collecting gear, and you're like, oh man, I have a bunch of stuff. So yeah, the Freak EQs, I've been really digging. They're great for sculpting drums. Everything I've kind of put through them so far has been pretty awesome. They have a really nice character to them. The mic pre too.
So yeah, I remember you initially you had a ton of 500 series stuff.
Yes.
And initially you were just like, I'm not going to put any of your EQs in the board.
Yeah.
And we sent you a pair of them.
Yes.
And you started playing around with them. So what kind of struck you right away? Because it didn't take you long to call up and say, okay, we need 16 of these in the board.
That good point. You're right. He's right about that. You sent me a pair. What I normally, my go-to is like, oh, I'll put a kick and a snare through and just tweak them with the EQ and just kind of see what it has. The cool thing about it is you can totally select the notch, you can boost, find the problem frequency, carve it out. It's just very easy to get around, and it has a really nice top end to it. It's very nice, very flattering top end to the EQ. It's just a really cool EQ. So yeah, so I was like, I think I need 16.
Yeah, I remember. It was right around that same time that we sent our friend Andy Hong a pair well for him to review, and he had very similar feedback. It's kind of the same sentiment a lot of people have. It's like you can quickly do things that previously you could only do in a plug-in.
Right.
But
it's easy.
It's easy.
It's very easy. And when you're tracking drums, especially, I've been tracking drums a long time, so it's like I know kind of what to go for immediately. But it's just easy, and you can get to where you want to go quick.
you do have 24 channels of the new mic pre.
I do.
How are you liking that so far?
It's sweet. That's a good way to describe it. It really adds a sweetness to the signal. There is something nice that it does. When I was recording drums, very punchy, familiar in a way, but new in a way, if that makes any sense at all. It was almost designed with a drummer in mind, I think, because if you talk to Paul, we'll go into detail about how I designed the mic pre, but it has 0 is actually negative gain on the mic pre. So if you're hitting a snare drum, something a loud source, it won't peak the mic pre, right? So it's just a very nice open sound. You don't need to engage the pad, which is awesome. If you engage the pad, sure, you can still drive it a little bit more, get a little bit more headroom out that way, but it's like I'm just very, very happy with the mic pre. I'm sure that has something to do with the input and output transformers. I'm sure they're in there as well, right?
For sure. Paul talks about it in such a way, just not having that pad, having to put in a pad just allows you not mess with impedance and really get the most out of those transformers. And
you do. It's
yeah, all the response so far is people just absolutely love them. So
yes,
yeah,
I am a fan, and as a drummer, the mic pre and the EQ is just so important. It's like nice to dive in, and you have a nice palette to work with right off the bat. It's just nice.
Sure. Talk to me about the monitor controller.
Oh yeah, that's probably one of my favorite details of the console. I got to get rid of my old monitor controller. I have a feeling a lot of people will be doing that. There's lots of options. Select the different inputs, the actual control room volume. Hey, I even have something playing in there. Really well thought out. Really well thought out. Yeah.
Nice. Now I want to dive into the routing side and how you're using it with your DAW, but I think there's nobody better to talk to you about that than our friend Andy Hahn.
Yeah, bring in Andy.
Because you guys both have the console, and Andy's been up and running with it a bit longer than you, but just really curious to see how you guys are using it.
I know, here's where I learned things from Andy,
probably. Yeah, but of course, like anything, and especially with this, there's 15 ways of doing the same thing.
100%.
Whatever works. So we'll bring in Andy to chat with you now.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Matt, it's awesome being in your studio. I know that you visited my studio. You got to see my kind of home setup. You've got a beautiful place here. It's
well,
amazing.
You do too.
It's a lot more than a home studio, that's for sure.
Yeah, I have a good amount of bands in and out of here, and it's definitely been a thing for me for the last 15 years or so.
Yeah. When you were describing this place to me, I think you kind of downplayed its size. So I'm impressed at not only the size of it, but also in terms of your gear. You've got a great set of gear.
Thanks, man.
And I know at one point you were thinking about getting a 16 channel.
That is true.
We had that conversation several times.
Yeah.
At Custom House and also at my place. Why'd you end up with a 24?
Well, there were two people that led me to 24 channels. It was you and Jay, and it was at that Custom House event. Funny enough, it was we started talking, and when I went home that night from the Custom House event, I started really thinking about, oh wait, if I do have 16 channels for tracking or whatever, and with the amount of returns that the console has, I could have gotten by with that. But then, as I started thinking, oh wait, I have bands in here and we're tracking more and more things, I'm going, I think I need to go with 24 channels. I think that's probably the sweet spot for me, and it definitely is.
Mm-hmm. I think some of our listeners probably don't realize how many inputs are in each one of these modules. And I've forgotten myself, because there are so many options in terms of routing signal into each module, and all of those are summable at once.
Yes.
Is it 96, 128,
yeah,
192?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, there's so many different channels. How do you use all of that routing capability in your console?
And right now, I'm not fully using it yet, because there's just so many channels. I don't even know that I'll get to some of the returns. I will even need them. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm just kind of coming back through in one, but you have 3 assignable returns, and it could be whatever you're sending there. So there's so many options. I'm pretty bare bones here, pretty punk rock, straightforward. But I believe you had said you kind of route differently than I do as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way I like to use the console, or I should say, let me go back a little bit. So the backstory is, I spent a couple years working with Paul Wolff, asking him, basically begging him to make me a console that would better provide the workflow that I saw everyone in the industry moving toward, which is hybrid mixing.
Yep.
Hybrid tracking and hybrid mixing, where you're doing some stuff inside the DAW, some stuff outside the DAW. You're integrating analog equipment in your rack as if it's a plugin.
Yep.
And then when you're mixing, some of the mixing actually happens inside the box, some of it happens outside the box. There's so many different ways for people to work. And when you have a recording console today, you really need that recording console to provide all of that capability, because you just never know. I know that the way I work tends to change day to day, with depending on the band, depending on the genre, depending on the instrumentation. So I begged Paul to make me the Andy Hong console, which then ended up being the console ST.
Yeah.
And I think that some of our listeners, I think, would really appreciate understanding that the routing capability of this console is so unique. It
really
allows you to work with any DAW, whether your DAW has low latency built into it, if it doesn't have low latency built into it, if it doesn't have punch-in capability built into it, you can use the console to get around all those limitations.
Correct.
And then there's a whole group of people, of new engineers and producers, who aren't using Pro Tools Ultimate. And so they're coming up in this world, and they're used to using something like a blend knob to blend a zero latency mix with what's on tape. That kind of capability, that kind of workflow, I think, some of us old school people don't really understand until you actually sit down with how people are using consoles these days, or how people are using plugins these days. And that was a conversation I had with Paul. And that's how this console ended up with so much capability in terms of routing. But the best thing about it, in my mind, is you can work any way you want.
Oh, 100%. That's my favorite part about it too, is really the options are endless. From the mix buses to the returns, there's just so many options with the console. It's pretty amazing.
But the thing is, you don't have to know all those, right?
Right.
You can use it the way you want to use it. If in the future you want to learn how to use it in a different way, or if you want to modify that workflow for yourself, you can. But when you actually look at this console and look at what the routing capabilities are by looking at the buttons and looking at the knobs, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Absolutely. Coming from numerous consoles throughout the years here, it is a console that just makes sense. And it was well thought out. So good job putting in your 2 cents for this, because it's really cool. Yeah. Maybe it should be called the console AH.
Thank you for that. No, but I'm not the genius. Paul Wolff is the genius, and he's the one that actually was able to turn some of our wish list into an actual console that works the way that it does. It's got 3 main inputs for every single module, but then it's got an external input, right? And that external input is a 4th input that is routed slightly differently through the module. It's got a DAW loop, which allows you to send and return to a DAW. It has a blend that allows you to blend effects, but it also lets you blend low latency versus what's coming off the quote-unquote tape, what's coming out of the DAW. It has filters, which I just absolutely love.
Yeah, the filters and the EQ on the return, fun.
Yeah, and the tilt is what I specifically like. It's amazing to be able to, with one knob, say, oh, I needed to have a little more lift in the high end. Oh no, I needed to have a little more bump in the low end. Yep. And just with a single knob, you can do that just by tilting. What about the Freak? I did the
I was going to say, you also have the Freak.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Paul said, hey, you really should hear what this sounds like. I'll send you 2 of them. Fell in love with it immediately. Realized, oh my God, this is not only an amazing EQ, but it's just a great tool to sweeten things up, right? Or to make things a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. But it's also surgical in the sense that you can really,
and that's
fine tune it and pull frequencies out if you need to, right?
I've loved that for drums. I really love that for drums. The just sweeping things and finding problem frequencies, chopping them out. It's really good. It's a fun EQ.
Yeah, so I ended up with 8. I'm sure I'm going to end up with 16 at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, you
have
you
to.
immediately went from 2 to 16,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Yeah. One of the things I love about it is that it really sits in its sweet spot. One of the things that I always say about analog gear is that analog gear, you really have to kind of find a sweet spot for whatever piece of analog gear that you're using. The right gain staging for that piece of gear, the right levels, where it's working most efficiently and where it's going to impart its character. I mean, I'm using analog gear because I want the sound of that analog gear, right? So I want the sound of this console to be part of that whole experience, not only in terms of tracking, but also in terms of mixing. And the Freak EQ has a sound to it. You were saying before that it sounds great on drums. What is it about the Freak that makes drums?
It's hard to put its finger on. It's just, I can say that you're able to find the sound you're going for quickly, but it has a pleasing tone to it. It has a heft, a little bit of a heft to it. It's hard to describe those kind of things, but it's something that you definitely feel when you put a signal through it.
Yep. And I think feel is a great word to really describe that, because yes, you hear it, but you really, really feel it, because what is actually happening after putting on an analyzer, I understand what's happening because I heard it too. I heard that on drums especially, but on all instruments, I felt that it was imparting a certain flavor that just made everything bigger, but especially on drums. And the reason why is that 40 hertz and below, it's adding significant amounts of second and third order harmonics. Those harmonics really bring out the low end.
Right.
Really give the low end.
Paul talks about that a lot.
extra heft, right?
Yeah.
And then the lower mids and mids, it's adding third and fifth order harmonics. And it's the output transformer, I imagine, that's doing all of this, right? And that extra bit of special sauce, let's call it, just makes drums really bloom. But it makes everything, that much bigger sounding. It's bigger than life. It's bigger than real life is what I call it, right?
Right.
And sometimes that's what you want, because when you're recording, close miking a set of drums, or even, room miking a set of drums, and then it's coming out of earbuds, if it's not bigger than life, it actually sounds smaller than life. And so for me, having an EQ that imparts that magic.
Yeah, it's like almost like a 3D-ish. Yeah, I know that people always say 3D, but it is. It's, for sure.
Matt, thank you so much for having us here. It's amazing to see your place. It's amazing to see your studio. It's amazing to see all of the gear that you've got. I mean, you've got a really dream setup here.
Well, thank you. I've been a gear nerd for a while now. It's nice to have guests. This has been awesome. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.